Test, test. All right, I think we are live. I just need to share this link with my family. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name's Nathan, and this is my first live stream. Actually, it's not the first one. Well, I've been testing over the past few days, but actually, I had a live stream before about what was it, like two years ago now. But that's a different story. I'll talk about that later. So let me just start with like a little bit about myself. Okay, first of all, am I positioned correctly? Let me move over this. Okay. Good enough. What I've been finding is that live stream technology is incredibly fickle. It's not like, oh, press a button, magically works. There's so much to set up, so much that can go wrong, so many bugs. It's a nightmare, but you know, I'm already this deep, let's go. So again, my name's Nathan. I am formerly an engineer. I worked at NASA Ames for about a decade. And before that, I was at the Department of Transportation. Before that, I was a sandwich artist at Subway. I think I'm still a sandwich artist. You never lose it. But I'm no longer doing that stuff. What am I doing now? Well, now I kind of spend my time figuring out what it means to live well. Such an important question. How does one live a good life? You know, when you get to 90 years old and you look back over your life, are you going to feel mostly regret, or are you going to be happy? These kind of questions I'm thinking about now so that I don't feel regret later, you know what I mean? So that's kind of what this channel is about. But before I get into the details about the channel and kind of the content I'll be doing, allow me to give a little bit of background about myself. Baby. Get some crumbs on your mane. So, I was born in 1986, just outside of Boston, into a pretty poor family. You know, we didn't have a home. I remember us moving from apartment to apartment a lot. And due to some unfortunate circumstances, my parents could not take care of me, and I was placed into foster home at age 6. Now, foster home actually was really nice, or at least it seemed that way to me. As a 6-year-old, well, first of all, my foster parents ran a daycare. So, there's always tons of kids around. And so that was fun. It also did mean that I didn't get a lot of individual attention, but at the same time, that meant I had a lot of freedom. So all in all, it seemed like a nice experience. Now, I was there for a while, and, as an older kid, I was told several times, like, you're 7, you're 8, you're 9, you're probably not going to get adopted. Like most people, when they adopt, they want babies. So there was a point where actually whoa, what do you want? Attention? I'm a little busy right now. But I'll give you attention. So there was a point where my foster parents told me to start calling them mom and dad because it looked like I was gonna be with them forever, not get adopted. But as it turned out, that wasn't the case. There was a point where a nice couple came by and took us to the zoo and kind of got to know us a little bit, and then eventually asked if we wanted to be adopted. So yeah, that was great. So basically I moved from a town, actually not that far away, about 20 minutes away, but it's kind of a different life. It was kind of a difficult adjustment for me because where once I had a lot of freedom and kind of like space to do my own thing, now I was like the center of the attention and everything had to change. No more violent action figures, no more video games. It was kind of a big change for me, but I rolled with it, and after a while I kind of adjusted to this new life, and I'm actually very grateful for it. Many things that they did, I'm definitely going to do for my kid. I mean, for one, reading. When I was in foster home, mostly they just kind of plopped me in front of oh, watch out. Mostly they just kind of plopped me in front of the TV. But whereas when I was adopted, they were very big on reading, and they started me with like, Goosebumps, and then I migrated to like Redwall and all these really interesting series. And I just believe that's so powerful. It gave me a huge like head start when it came to school. For example, I remember reading in class like out loud, and in elementary school, a lot of kids were struggling like doing basic reading, and I was just like zooming through it. So if you're a parent, really cut down on the phone time and add a few books, and it'll work wonders for your kid. Anyways, so my new adoptive family was really great. I have a brother, and he was adopted with me, so that was great too. And basically, in a nutshell, there was like essentially a story of life that was conveyed to me, that how to be happy, how to be successful. And the gist of the story was, do well in high school, and then you can get to a good college, and then you can get a good degree, and then you can get a good career, and then you can make a lot of money, and you can have a comfortable life, you can find a partner, buy a house, start a family, and live happily ever after. You're probably seeing cat hair everywhere. I have 2 white cats who shed everywhere, so I've just long accepted that I'm gonna have cat hair all over me. Anyways, so for the most part I did that. It was a little rough. I didn't exactly take the most direct path there, but eventually I found myself, like I said, working a nice decent job at the Department of Transportation, and then a few years later I was working at NASA Ames, and I was getting paid really well. It was pretty comfortable. Had a measure of prestige. Wasn't the most like intense environment that I hear a lot of people have, like these like tech jobs where they're just like coming home exhausted and working like 60 hours a week. It was pretty nice. But it was also a time when I kind of been noticing the fabric of the society around erode. Think about it. I grew up, so let's say I graduated in 2004, graduated high school. 2004, right? Like social media was barely a thing. I think there was Facebook and people were posting like pictures of their dogs. It was really like chill and innocuous time. Compare that to today. What is social media today, right? It's like kind of like this crazy, very toxic environment. Totally different. Cat hair. And that's just like one small part of it. Think about the politicians of the past. Like, I don't know, do you remember George Bush and Al Gore? Like looking at them in comparison to the politicians of today, it's crazy. It's like night and day. George Bush is effectively a Democrat by all standards of today. He's very, very chill, very tame, very, he's not, there's just a different kind of rhetoric that you see in politics today that you just didn't see back then. And you can see this in many different areas of life. So yes, while I was working at this job, I was making decent money and all seemed well. I was noticing different things about society that just didn't really sit well with me. I noticed kind of things it didn't seem like I was going to live happily ever after. I mean, consider for the fact that I had a pretty decent job, and yet when I tried to look for a home to buy, it was out of my reach. California Bay Area homes, no, I couldn't afford that. I would have to basically be locked into my job for like 30 years just to do that. So, I was thinking like, is this really life? I need to stop saying as much. I can hear myself say it. But let me pull up my notes so I don't get too off track. So yeah, I mean, basically, I began to question whether the story I've been taught to live, like get a good degree, get a good job, make a lot of money, get, blah, 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 live in this little like isolated, single nuclear family home. Was that what I wanted? And so I kind of did some research, looked around. I discovered this concept called intentional community. In a nutshell, it's basically a group of people who have come together to live according to their shared values, based on the idea that cooperative living is going to lead to a higher quality of life than one could enjoy in the kind of traditional individualist paradigm that dominates society today. So I looked up all these communities. I was like, I want to try this out. I want to check this out. And I packed up everything, threw it all into storage, and flew to Hawaii. And there I spent several years exploring this idea of intentional community. And it was an amazing experience. I learned so much about myself, about collective living, about growing food, permaculture, construction, emotional intelligence, effective communication, conflict resolution, just generally relating to myself and others better. I think when I got there, I was still very much in this like kind of individual mindset, and I was very disconnected from my body. I grew up kind of like STEM, you should learn science, math, get a really good tech job, blah, blah, blah. And so I was very heady. I didn't really have a good connection with my body. But I realized there's a level of connection with your body you can have that many people like myself were completely oblivious to. You can be so connected to your body that like the moment there's like the slightest twinge of a chemical difference, you can be attuned to that and be like, oh, I'm noticing a rise of anger within me. I'm noticing a little bit of sadness. You know, my heart is like, the chest is kind of clenched, whatever. There are physiological signs for all your emotions, which I was just completely unaware of. I mean, of course, when I got really, really upset, I was aware of that. But it was usually only after I was already really upset, and by then it was too late. And through meditation and other practices, I've been becoming more and more in tune with my body so I can recognize these well in advance. And I never get into any like crazy flying rages because I can feel that like a mile away. And I can be like, oh, something that someone just said or something I saw on the internet has evoked an emotion in me, and like I can investigate that and like kind of sit with it. Anyways, I digress. The point is, there is so much about the world that I was completely unaware of. And living in this kind of like narrow mindset of what I thought life had to be and get a job, kind of made me blind to all that. And exploring intentional community and meeting all these different people from all different walks of life. We had people from Europe and everywhere coming in who were kind of all pursuing their own journey of like, what is life about and how should I live it and how can I be happy? And so it was just a wonderful experience. Now, that particular community wasn't exactly the community for me. It wasn't one I really felt like I wanted to settle down in for the rest of my life. There are thousands of intentional communities out there, so it's kind of like dating. You don't really typically marry the first person you go on a date with. I mean, possible if they're amazing, but you know, you might want to kind of get a sense of the variety out there. And so I went around, I went to Vermont to explore another community, awesome group of people. Wasn't quite the perfect mesh for me, but I'm still looking, and I'm also in the process of designing a community now. But so now I've landed here in New York City, and I decided to start a live stream because I want to connect with others who are kind of like in this place in their lives where they're sort of questioning and like, is there more to life and how can I live well? And sort of create an environment where we can all share these things together and just be connected, have like a support network and maybe form a community someday. So yeah, so now you know a little bit about me, a little bit about my motivations. Let's talk about kind of like the content that you can expect from my streams. Let me take a drink real quick. Okay, so just before I get started, I spent like 4 or 5 months setting up every little technical detail about, you know, like when you have these little like things, there's bits and like subscribers and alerts that pop up and chat and you gotta like position it everywhere. I think I did it correctly, maybe. I think I will see chat as it comes up and I'll respond to people. But if you're typing to me now and there's like 1,000 messages in chat and I don't see them, I'm really sorry about that. Still sort of figuring this all out. Might have to take a few weeks to get accustomed to how this all works. But I'm assuming basically nobody is here because I am nobody, which is totally cool. People can check this video out again in the future when they want to go to the past. Oh, okay. So let's begin. What are you gonna see here? Well, I want to offer a range of content that I've discovered is really valuable for living well. And I've picked a couple things that I think will be best suited for a live stream format. So starting with the physical health, I want to do a couple sessions of strength training, because strength training has been shown widely throughout the scientific literature to improve your health across a number of measures. So I'm going to be doing some physical strength training, and if we're lucky, we might get some other kinds of training, Pilates, calisthenics, depending on, if I can get some other people, teachers, to come on and contribute. But I'll initially be starting with 2 strength training days and 2 mobility days, where I kind of just do like mobility movements, because that's one of the things I made a mistake of myself, especially in my 20s. I thought that, just work out, go to the gym, get ripped, that's all you need. No, not really. You can be really strong and have the biggest muscles, but when you get off the couch, you're like, oh, my back, like you can still be really stiff. So to be really healthy physically, you need to combine both muscular development with kind of like movement and mobility. Get your body moving, get some stretching in there. That I think will really translate the best into old age. Yeah, and then of course, I would always recommend as well doing some cardio, some aerobic exercise, whether that's just like running or jogging or swimming or, whatever feels good to you. But getting your heart rate up consistently, probably 1 to 2 hours a week would be really great for your health. And so that's just like the physical aspect side. I'm not going to, unfortunately, I can't really just like run with my phone, and there's not really a thing. So I will show people how to like work out and do like basic exercises to be fit, but the cardio part, that's something you're going to have to do on your own. And then I'm going to also do sort of segments that involve improving your mental health, your mental well-being. I want to help people improve their emotional intelligence, their decision-making, your confidence, your mental fortitude and resilience, increased internal and external awareness, like I was talking about before. Internal about your body, your emotions, your physical sensations, and then external awareness, like, can you read the room? Like, are you just like in your head all the time? I want to give people tools to reduce their stress, to increase their happiness, to have better relationships, and overall just improve your well-being. So it's going to be structured where there'll be exercise components for, like I said, strength training and mobility, and there'll be 3 other components that are more related to mental well-being. The first is meditation. Meditation is one of those things that I started getting into a couple years ago, just before I went to Hawaii, actually. I've been reading about it as something that has real potential to help people. But it wasn't really until I got into it for about a year or 2 when I really started to see it, like the potential of it really start to kind of like appear in my life. It's so powerful. I actually wrote an article about this. You can check out my blog. It's njb.fyi/blog. And right now it's like I really recently remade it, so there's only like 6 articles there. You could easily find it. There's one on mindfulness. And you can also check out my schedule page, and I linked this blog post on it. And there I go into like rich detail about what I think meditation offers. So I encourage you to check that out if you want like a kind of more detailed breakdown of everything. But suffice it to say, it's a very, very powerful tool. I thought, when I was thinking about like health and what's important, like I said before, I thought a lot of just about physical health and working out. And yeah, and like I said, just not long ago that stretching and kind of mobility is also important too. But even more important than all that, in terms of like your overall well-being, is your mental health. Because consider this, whenever you are happy, that's your mind. Whenever you're sad, that's your mind. I'm kind of butchering a Sam Harris quote here, but basically everything that you do in life comes to you through your mind. That's the lens that everything is painted before your consciousness. So it's so critical to everything. If you just spend your life working on your physical body, you're missing out on a huge area of potential growth, which is your mind. So I think it's really important to exercise your mind. And one way to do that is through meditation. Beyond that, beyond kind of improving your inner world, your inner mental life, there's connection with other people. This is really valuable. And it's, I see this like epidemic of loneliness that people keep talking about in articles, news and such. I mean, it's absolutely true. There isn't really a good way to connect with people. Social media, we thought that when we invented social media, we thought that would be like the most connective experience. Like, here's my life, become my friend, It hasn't really turned out that way, has it? Like, simply because you subscribe to someone's feed, you aren't their friend necessarily. So connection is really, really valuable. So I want to offer an opportunity to connect with people, and then kind of involves two things. Like, one, of course, setting up a place where people can come together and have the opportunity, but it also involves being able to be vulnerable with people, because really that's what it comes down to. So I'll be doing 2 live stream sessions a week on this topic of connection, where I have people do some sort of authentic relating game, typically heart share, which I explain a bit more in detail on the schedule page. But basically it's just a place and a time where people can come together and everybody gets about 5 minutes or so, and they can just talk with about their issues and what's on their mind, what's in their heart. And no one else talks. It's their time. Everybody's supposed to listen respectfully, give them their full attention, and no judgment. And it's just a place you can share. And I'll be offering that kind of like format, as well as other formats as well. Because, of course, we want more interaction between each other, not merely just listening to each other, which is important. I think more people could listen more. But so that'll be that what you can expect there. Just really an opportunity to connect with other people and kind of fulfill this need of human connection and belonging. And lastly, I'm going to offer one session of, which I've called like perspective sharing, basically, where I'll introduce a topic and kind of share my perspective on it, and then I'll open it up for discussion and invite people to talk about it. And over time, I hope other people can come on board and be like, hey, Nathan, I want to share this topic. Can I do that? And like, here's what I got. And I'll be like, oh yeah, that's cool. Let's talk about it. And then, other people can be involved. But yeah, nothing too crazy. I'm not gonna like make this super advanced like PowerPoint presentation every single time. Just kind of like come up with some rough ideas and things that I've learned over life that I think might be helpful to share with others. And hopefully, again, like other people can come and share what they've learned. Now, I do want to talk about briefly the platforms. Okay, so this is one of the craziness about live streaming, right? Like, there's not just one live streaming company or whatever. There's Twitch, there's YouTube, there's Instagram, there's TikTok. They all want to, steal each other's users and bring everyone to their platform. So I have this thing set up where I can stream to multiple platforms at once, which is fine, I think. And it's interesting because I can actually stream both like a horizontal, like desktop, and I can stream vertical for like mobile. So right now, I'm like kind of off center. I should probably move. I've set it up so that you can go to YouTube right now on your mobile device or on your desktop, and you'll see me either in vertical or in horizontal. So check out my schedule page, and I list the websites where it's vertical or horizontal or whatever, so you can do whatever you like best. If you want to look at me on your phone or you want to be on your desktop, it's up to you. But there's a couple slight downsides with that. I mean, oh, let me get your eye, baby. Got a lot of gook in there. It's pretty good. Yeah, it just kind of adds a little complication. I kind of wish I could just send everybody to one location. I'm currently leaning slightly towards YouTube for that, but I also have this website that I paid for, but it's not working. The company was like, well, there's a bug, it doesn't work. But when or if that ever gets fixed, I can just send you to one location. You can always access the stream. Yeah, the other complicated thing is actually I wanted to stream to TikTok originally because that's such a big platform. A lot of people on TikTok. I don't know anything about TikTok. I never used I'm just, that's not me. But I actually found out that in order to stream to TikTok, at least 50% of my content has to be gaming related. Interesting. I mean, that's a lot. I have 0% gaming related content right now. And I have 14 hours of non-gaming related content. So that means I have to stream 14 hours of gaming related content to be able to stream to TikTok. That's a lot. I'm not sure if I want to do that. Actually, that would be fun. I like playing games. I don't know if I should do that. So we'll see. But anyways, just one little note on that. Like, there's a bunch of different platforms. You can check me out on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, and different orientations. So just look at the schedule page for what you prefer. And the schedule page will always be updated with the latest information of when I'm streaming, which is basically every day. But there might be some days where I'm gonna go out and go on a hike or something, and I'll note it there that I won't be streaming that day. Okay, so I've talked about a lot of different things, and I had slated originally that I'd go kind of a bit more into detail about a lot of these subjects, or a lot of the content that I'm doing, but I think I'm going to push them off a little bit later, especially because I wanted to do a mindfulness practice session at 2, at the normal scheduled time. While some of these things are really, really quick that I can just like breeze over, some of them are a lot more dense. I spent a lot of time researching into these topics to make sure I was giving quality content that is backed by science. In particular, the exercise and fitness related content, right? Like when I talk about the kind of topic discussions we'll be doing, I'm just going to be talking about random stuff. But when it comes to offering advice about how to gain muscle really effectively, like there's science behind this. And so I wanted to make sure I did a good job. So that could probably take an hour in and of itself. And a lot of you here might just be more interested in hearing the kind of like quick overview rather than this like deep dive into like all the min-maxing of muscle gain. But they are important topics. What's also an important topic that I'm not going to be really covering much here is diet. I've been talking about physical health, and of course diet is a huge component of that. In fact, I would say that if you're interested in becoming like physically healthy, then maybe you want to, shed some weight, or maybe you want to gain some weight, gain some muscle, whatever your goals are, diet is probably like 80 to 90% of it. If you eat a really bad diet, it doesn't really matter what you do physically. I mean, unless you're running like a marathon every single day, burning all those calories off, If you're eating, 10 Big Macs a day, that's not a good thing. That's not healthy. It's going to kind of ruin all your goals. So I think diet is one of those things that is deeply personal. That's the tricky thing about it, and that's why I think it's kind of hard to give diet advice, because everybody's body is so unique. It even applies to some extent to actually exercising and lifting weights. For example, there's this concept of some people who are high responders and people who are low responders. If you look at studies and they do, everybody does the exact same exercise. And then they measure like bicep growth after the fact. And you'll see that some people like respond extremely well and they gain a lot of muscle mass, and some people barely grow at all. So the bottom line is everybody's body is very unique. And it's hard to give just like generalized advice that applies to everybody. You really have to understand your own body and kind of tailor the advice to yourself. So what I would do is just honestly go online, look up a few things on the internet. Most general advice will be a good starting point, but you're going to find stuff like, half your plate should be fruits and vegetables when you have a meal. A quarter of your plate should be maybe a protein, and things like that. And that's generally good advice. Like, avoid processed foods. Try to eat as much like, organic food as you can. I know it's more expensive, but no one really wants to be eating pesticides and such. And just do your best. But remember, diet is so important. So make sure you kind of get your diet tailored in if you're really interested in optimizing and having really good physical health. And then the only other thing beyond that I would say that's also really important is sleep. I can't, what am I going to do, a live stream of me sleeping? There's not much I can do there other than just say, in terms of physical health, it's really important that you get a good amount of sleep, which for most people is around 7 to 8 hours of sleep at night. But it's just really listening to your body. If you wake up in the morning, if you're going throughout the day and you just like kind of sit with yourself, like, are you exhausted right now? You can feel that, like you can get a sense for that. And if so, then you might want to consider sleeping a bit more. Of course, I know it's really hard. We would all love to sleep as much as possible, but we got commitments, we got jobs, we got to get up at 6 a.m. to make sandwiches. I get it. Crazy world we live in, but just, be mindful of this. Sleep is important. So if you're like me, I'm terrible with, getting myself to go to bed early. This is like a bad habit I have. I started in childhood, right? Like, nighttime for me was the ultimate peace time. I had conflicts with my parents growing up, and there was something about nighttime when like they went to bed and everything was peaceful. I had all this freedom. I just got in the habit of staying up really, really late. And so that's something that still like sticks with me today. Even though I know that sleep is so important, sometimes I'll be finding myself on the computer, on Wikipedia, playing a game or something, and it's like 2 a.m. So yeah, just do whatever you can to just try to remind yourself every day a little bit, try to go to bed early, try to get a good night's sleep. Another thing I want to explain also is that, this kind of like the content that I'm offering, you're going to be seeing me doing, 2 hours of working out, lifting weights, 2 hours of, mobility movement, an hour every day of meditating, various like the heart share activities. It's a lot of time. I think for most people, they're not going to be able to do everything. And you might look at it like, wow, like being healthy, look how much hair my cat just like sheds. It's crazy. You're so hairy, so furry. Oh, okay. So it's probably all over me. That's okay. You'll probably like, okay, wow, like it takes a lot to be healthy. I can't possibly invest all this time. I got kids, I got a job, I got all this stuff to do. I want to encourage you as much as possible actually to do what you can in terms of your health in your day, like in your day to day. What you want, baby? So what I'm talking about is this, like, look, you can either set aside time like I'm doing to do all these different activities, and that's great. Or instead of doing like a separate session of cardio, maybe instead of driving to work, you cycle to work, right? You do the world a favor by taking a car off the road. Hey, don't scratch these really expensive, beautiful, nice mats. Thank you. And you improve your health. You know, actually, one thing I started doing recently, which I think is super awesome, is when I watch a TV show, I will stretch during the TV show. Now, the first time you do stretches, you know, you're doing new stretches, you know, you really just focus and like get a sense for how they work, proper form, and all that. But after you've done them a lot, you can totally stretch while watching a show. And so you don't have to like set aside separate time. If you have a normal time at the end of the day where you're like, oh, me and my wife, we watch, you know, Game of Thrones, we watch Severance, well, you can keep doing that. And you can do some other things. Same thing even actually goes with meditation. In the beginning, you'll want to start meditating in a quiet kind of place where, you know, you have your eyes closed. Because, you know, as a new practice, it can be distracting if there's a lot of like noises and sounds around. But in time, you actually learn how to meditate with your eyes open. And even while moving. In fact, if you go to like a formal like meditation retreat where they, you know, you're meditating like 8 hours a day, they'll very quickly teach you how to do this, because you can't just be sitting for 8 hours a day. I mean, it's not really practical. It's not really good for you. So they teach you how to like meditate while moving around. I mean, you're walking at like a snail's pace, but yeah. Eventually, my point is that you learn to meditate in your day-to-day, and you find little moments of meditation throughout the day. One really great piece of advice that I learned a couple years ago was this woman was talking about how whenever she has to wait, she uses that time to meditate. And that's such a wonderful little tip that I use all the time. Like, I used to be impatient when, like, oh, I have to wait at the grocery store line, or I have to wait, I'm in my car or something, wherever. And now I never get that. If I have to wait now, I see that as a wonderful brief moment where I get an extra chance to meditate. And it works wonders for me. And it can work wonders for you too. So it's just things like that where you can integrate your well-being activities into your day-to-day life. I don't think you necessarily have to set aside a huge amount of time to do all these things independently. So yeah, I just want to make that clear. Okay, so I've covered up pretty much the overview of the content I'm going to be doing, my motivations, and I think that's a pretty good stopping place. I want to continue and do a meditation session after this, starting at 2. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to get my cat some food because I think the other cat ate it, and I'll be back in a few minutes. See you at 2 p.m. There's a button I can press. What is that button? BRB.